Who needs tanks and pikemen when you can have fireballs and dragons? Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 fantasy strategy games.
With no survivors, only the battlefield could tell me what happened here.
For this list, we're looking at strategy games which predominantly take place in worlds of swords and sorcery. As usual, there will only be one entry per franchise, and we're excluding MOBAs as those are in a completely different genre and that deserves a list of its own. So basically that list will come out when Dota 2 and League of Legends fans make peace.
Better hold on tight, Captain. Could get bumpy.
Number 10, The Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle-earth 2. No fantasy list would be complete without mentioning what is considered to be the most popular fantasy setting of all time. This second installment to the RTS PC series introduces new factions such as dwarves and elves, adding to the already existing human and orcish races.
The Battle of Green Fields has not been forgotten by the goblins and their kind.
Elven archers and ents can clash with defensive dwarven pikemen and tawdry-priced goblins while attempting to eliminate all other factions. While it is based on Tolkien's War of the North from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, this does obviously take some liberties with the plot. But that shouldn't stop hardcore Lord of the Rings fans from enjoying this fantasy-filled entry. Number 9, Age of Mythology. This RTS PC game was a spin-off of the widely popular Age of Empires series, but instead of sending cavalry at your enemies, players get to use the powers of the gods to rain down death and destruction on their foes. While there are only 3 playable races, the Greeks, the Norse, and the Egyptians, each led by their own major god, you are allowed to choose a minor god each time you advance through to the next age. There's only one campaign, but it's a whopping 32 scenarios long, so it's sure to keep you engaged for ages, literally.
A hero has fallen.
Number 8, Shining Force. Enter the world of Gardania and take the role of Max, who forms a group of friends in order to stop the antagonist Cain from opening up the Shining Path to resurrect and unleash the Dark Dragon upon the land. Tactical turn-based RPG for the Genesis. Here you fight enemies on a square grid, gaining experience points to level up and gain promotions by performing different kinds of actions. Despite a major part of the plot being lost in the translation upon its first North American release, the game's initial success saw it ported to numerous other consoles, including the Wii Virtual Console, and a remake on the Game Boy Advance. Number 7, Total War Warhammer.
As gods battle for the world's fate, I make my own humble contribution.
The Total War series has featured some of the largest tactical battles ever seen on PC, ranging from settings like feudal Japan to ancient Rome to medieval Europe. But don't fret, fantasy fans, because this installment in the series takes place in the fantasy world of Warhammer.
I say we show Todbringer's mongrels that Reichlander blood flows through our veins!
In the vanilla experience, you play as one of 4 factions, including the Empire, which is a human faction, and the Greenskins, which, can you guess, are Greenskin Orcs. Here, developers took a big risk, creating a fantasy game in a series that has usually tried to be as historically accurate as possible, but diehard fans have learned to appreciate this entry just as much.
Will his reign strengthen the nation, or lead it to ruin?
Number 6, Black and White.
A land of innocence has no need for gods. Until fate intervenes.
You ever wanted to be a god? Based on the timeless concept of good versus evil, Black and White allows you to decide the fate of numerous tribes on an island by acting as their god. While Peter Molyneux's Populous is accepted as the first god game, Black and White offers a much more polished and updated experience.
We've got this notion that we quite like to sail the ocean, so we're building a big boat to leave here for good.
Each action or inaction you take will be deemed good or evil and contribute to your image in the eyes of these villagers. But a pretty cool feature that everyone was talking about is the inclusion of a pet creature. This pet cannot exactly be controlled directly, but can be taught to do certain tasks using a reinforcement system. If you think you're a saint, this game might tell you who you really are. Number 5. Age of Wonders 2, The Wizard's Throne.
The world is out of balance. The wizard's circle in Evermore is broken, and its wizards rage upon the earth with the same raw forces that created her.
Building on the success of the original Age of Wonders 2 has the player take control of an immortal wizard and fight through the different spheres of water, fire, earth, air, life, death, and cosmos.
Master each sphere of magic. Only a human can restore balance to the circle and the world.
Spells can only be used within a certain domain, so don't think you can just rely on one overpowered spell and rush into enemy territory. Part of the reason for this game's success was that the Dutch developers took to the online strategy community for help with feedback and making the game. Good job, Internet.
The gods abandon us. Queen Julia and her elves talk of aid but do nothing. Humanity is doomed to extinction.
Number 4. Final Fantasy Tactics. On the heels of the widely popular Final Fantasy VII, a paragon of RPG gaming, Final Fantasy took a much more tactical approach to combat with this PlayStation game. Here, battles were set on an isometric map, giving you more freedom in deciding where to place your party, in contrast to the RPG games that preceded it. Much like FF5, players can choose from a giant list of jobs, such as Squire, Monk, or Onion Knight. Even monsters are available to join your party. Fans at the time would also be able to see FF7's protagonist Cloud, as even he makes an appearance in this game as a playable character. Number 3. Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
My father's kingdom must survive. Arathia must not fall to its enemies.
While video game spin-offs often fail to impress, the Heroes of Might and Magic series surpassed its original RPG series, Might and Magic, by miles. Heroes 2 was acclaimed as a masterpiece, but Heroes 3 improved upon it in many ways.
The presence of minotaurs suggests a raiding party. However, the ranks were too well organized.
Your in-game heroes still had secondary skills, but now had unique abilities, along with tons of new artifacts and creatures to recruit from 8 different town types. The introduction of the Wait command in battle, as well as numerous new creature abilities, added depth to the strategy of this turn-based game. With a stunning soundtrack composed by Paul Romero and loads of environmental sound effects, this game will fully immerse you in a land of fantasy and lore.
The smoking ruins of Cloudfire greeted us with nothing but destruction and the stench of death.
Number 2. Fire Emblem Awakening.
I see you're awake now.
Hey there.
There are better places to take a nap than on the ground, you know.
This tactical turn-based RPG on the 3DS has you control an amnesiac soldier working for Prince Chrom of Elise. Old Fire Emblem fans would be right at home with this entry in the series, and the new option of playing without permadeath makes the game accessible to newcomers as well. The game is highly customizable, and the RPG elements are extremely deep, with 40 character classes to choose from. Battles do take place on a squared grid, but that doesn't mean the maps don't have huge variety, complete with environmental obstacles. Relationships between the characters can also be built, making them friends and even lovers. Originally created to be the final game in the Fire Emblem series, its success kept the franchise alive, spawning at least one other game, which was unfortunately split into 3 games.
You deserved better from me than one sword in a world of troubles.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
These Venucci conscripts are no match for Miana's finest. Musketeers, fire at will! Doge, you will pay for this!
No man can fight these creatures! The enemy is your blood shall be our prayers!
Number 1. Warcraft 2, Tides of Darkness.
Now, united in arms with new allies against a common foe, mankind stands at the shores of destiny and awaits the coming of the Tides of Darkness.
When talking about strategy games that were seminal to the genre, perhaps nothing had a bigger impact than Tides of Darkness. Everything we know and love about Blizzard's strategy games took shape in this decades-old title. The isometric perspective, the vibrant art style, the quirky unit banter, you can find it all here.
Me lord? Okay, hello.
Regardless of whether or not it ripped off a certain lord of a certain set of rings, the conflict between the Horde and the Alliance made gaming history. Blizzard took the strategy genre and showed the world how it was done. Zug Dug. Do you agree with our list? What are some of the best fantasy strategy games you've had the privilege of playing?
There's no way.
For more top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Righto.